Welcome everyone, and glad you're here for this week's Wednesday webinar. Today we're going to be talking about Power BI using bookmarks and buttons. So let's talk a little bit about buttons first. There are some predefined options for buttons within Power BI, which you can see here, and there is a blank option as well for you to customize, so you can create whatever kind of button you want with text. And then your buttons can have different actions. So the back goes to the previous page you were on. Bookmark will designate a bookmark that you've defined to navigate to. You can launch the Q&A of Power BI, or you can even designate navigation to an outside URL. With bookmarks, this allows you to save a page with filters. So you can apply all sorts of filters to your page or different visualizations, and then you can save it as a bookmark, and then you can use that to return to view that same filter data without having to go through all the work of selecting the filters again. Bookmarks are often used with buttons for navigation purposes, or you can use it to tell a story within Power BI. So let's get right into the demo where we'll take a look at creating some bookmarks and buttons, and we will be using the Power BI desktop for this. So the first one we're going to look at here, I just have a page with accounts receivables and cash balance accounts. And we're going to go ahead and add a bookmark and a button showing how you can navigate within this same page. So your bookmarks pane is not automatically turned on. So the first thing you need to do is turn that on. Up here in the top, we're going to go to View and select the bookmarks pane. Now you can see here we have the option to add bookmarks, or if we had bookmarks already added, we could also view them. So the bookmark I'm going to add is just this blank page with no filters. What we're going to do is we're going to create a reset button that will clear everything if you've been selecting different filters. So here we have the blank page, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Add a Bookmark, and it's defaulting to show bookmark 1. You have the option with the little ellipsis to rename it. So we're just going to call this our home page. Now to add in a button, you go to the Home tab here, and the buttons option is right here within the top toolbar. And we're going to go ahead and choose the Reset. Here's where you can see the listing of the different types of buttons available. So we're going to go ahead and click Reset. All buttons automatically default to your upper left-hand corner, so you will just drag them to wherever you want them to be on your page. And once we have the button added, we're going to look at this Visualizations section. And this is where you can customize your button, which will go into all the other areas you can customize. But the one I want to focus on for this first demonstration is the Action section. Right now that is off, so we're going to go ahead and turn that on, and we're going to expand this. And then we're going to choose the action we want it to take. We don't want it to go back to a previous page. What we want to do is navigate to a particular bookmark, and then we're going to choose our home page bookmark. So now how this works is when you're selecting different things, so you're going through your report, maybe you're selecting, I want to see these different territories. You can select filters in every area that you have. And when you click on this button, what it'll do is it'll revert that page back to no filters being selected. Now, this is giving you an example of how to navigate within a single page. Power BI did add the ability in the online version to reset all your filters within a toolbar that's already predefined. So we don't see this reset button used a lot anymore, but this could be, any type of button where maybe you have multiple filters you want selected and you just want a single button to apply those. 3 filters would be beneficial within a single page. And what I mean by that, let's take a look at the online section here. I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to publish it to our online version. And I'll show you where that reset button lives on the online version here. And it's just taking a moment to save here. Okay, so now I'm just flipping over to the online version just to show you what that looks like. Now here you can see this is the button that we added. It would work the same way, where if there was multiple filters selected and you click on the button, it would return us there as well. And here's what I mean. Power BI did add this reset to default. So in the online version, there is the option right within that top toolbar. So now let's take a look at buttons that act over multiple pages. So I have another demo report here we're looking at. This is just the job cost demo. And you can see at the bottom, I have multiple tabs. I have an overview tab. I have a tab that's highlighting out more by project manager, one that's individual jobs, and then an information tab that just has where I would place like information about the reports. So what I want is I want an easy way to drill into that. Yes, you can click on the different tabs here at the bottom, but sometimes people like to have them right on the face of the report. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a bookmark for every place that we want to navigate to. So I'm going to go to the Project Manager tab here. I'm going to add a bookmark, and I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to go to the individual jobs, and I'm going to add a bookmark here. And then I'm going to go to the Information tab and add one here. Okay, so I have the 3 bookmarks that I want to have added. Now I'm going to start creating some buttons. And you can use any of these buttons. It just defines what it's going to look like. You know, is it going to be a right arrow? Do you like the back button, you know, with the circle around the arrow? For the sake of what we're going to do, we're going to look at the blank. And this really is, it's just a blank box. When you have your button selected, you know, previously we added the action, but now we're going to look at some of the other things that you can customize about your button. So if we turn the button text on, we're going to say this is going to be the button that takes us to the project manager. Maybe we'll just have project manager. You can pick font color, alignment, you know, however big you want it to be. The icon, you can see it's just a blank shape, but this is where you could change the type of shape it would be. Outline, we've got the outline turned on, and we have a basic gray outline. Now, one thing you'll notice here with the text, icon, outline, and fill is this first little box that says default state. So this allows you to choose what will the outline be in the default state just on the page, when you hover over it, or when you press that button. So we're going to say for the default state, we want the outline to be this gray, but when we hover over it, we want to really know that that's the button we're hovering over. So we're going to change it to a red outline, and we're going to give it a little larger weight. Fill, this is a background color, so you can have like a default of any of these colors. You can see that filled it in a little bit, or you could also change it to just fill in on hover. You know, some people like a button to appear gray or something when they hover over it. And if at any time you set a customization you don't like, if you choose revert to default, it will return to whatever the default Power BI settings are. So let's just look a minute at how that on hover works. So you can see when we're not on the button, it's got the gray outline, but if I hover over it, now it has that red outline. So that's how it works when you're customizing between hovering or the default state. When you're looking at the background, if you do turn on a background, that is just a background that will always be there. It works similar to the fill, but you cannot choose the difference between default state and hovering over it. Let's go ahead and choose the action. So this one is going to take us to a bookmark. And we're going to go to the Project Manager tab. And then I'm going to follow the same thing again, where I'm going to pull a blank button over. And on this one, we're going to go ahead and have this be the individual jobs. And with this one, I'm going to do the outline. I'm still going to do on hover. I want it to be red. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a button for the information page. It can be helpful to have an information page on any Power BI report you have. A lot of times that's where you can put definitions, who to contact if there's questions or problems. And I see people using either the help icon or the information icon for that. And when you choose a button that has an icon, you can keep it just the icon, or you still can add button text next to it. So you can still turn that on, and you could put, you know, you can have it next to the icon. But we're going to keep ours simple here, and we're just going to have little information. So then from a navigation perspective, I've got the 3 different pages that I might want to navigate to, but I want to make sure and go to those pages and provide a back button so we can come back to this overview when we're done looking at those pages. So I'm going to go over to the Project Manager tab. I'm going to add a back button. Just going to move it down here. And on this one with the icon, I'm going to change it to on hover. Let's give it, so you see that the icon itself turns red. So we've got a back button there. And the action, because this is a back button, is automatically turned on to back. There's a few buttons that do have that. You'll see that with the back button and then with the Q&A button. So let's go to the individual tab. We're going to add a back button there as well. And then on the information tab, we're also going to add a back button here. Okay, so how this works now that we have our buttons, you can see now we hover over Project Manager. And if we click that link, it'll take us directly to that Project Manager tab. Then we can select back and it'll take us back to the overview. The same thing works with the individual. Oh, I missed a step here, you guys. I forgot to put the action on this one. I'm sorry about that. Turn that on, bookmark, and we're going to go to the individual jobs tab. There we go. Now when we click that link, it takes us to the individual job data, and we can go back to the overview page. With the information icon, if we select that, which I need to turn the action on for that as well. There we go. That'll take us to the information page, and the back button will take us back to the overview. So this is a way that you can use buttons to navigate within the different pages of your report. A couple of the other buttons that we have, so I know I've mentioned the Q&A button. We'll go ahead and add that here. Just brings up a little Q&A box. And when we look at this, the action is automatically turned on to be Q&A. So what that does is Power BI allows the option to ask questions about your data and try to get other visualizations based on the questions that you ask. So if we click this link, what that's going to do is launch that Q&A pane, and you can start typing in, whatever your question may be. Didn't understand my question. This is why it can be important to have your columns named as you would search for them. There's also questions to get you started where you can go through, we've got like quantity fulfilled divided by quantity for the last week. We didn't fulfill anything last week in my demo data, but you can ask those questions of your data and then get different visualizations. So the Q&A button can be helpful for navigating there. And then another button is one that you can go to an outside web URL. So let's go ahead and let's add another information. And I have a web URL saved here. We're just going to go to weather.com. So on the customizations here, let's turn on the button text and say, we want to see the weather. And under action on this one, we're going to turn it on. And this time we're going to select web URL. So now with this button, when we click on this link, it actually is going to take us to that web URL. It's going to launch a web window and navigate to an outside URL. So if you have resources that you use or websites that would be handy based on the data that you're looking at, you definitely can add that to your Power BI report. So let's go back. So that's the basics of using your buttons. Any of them, they look a little different. Bookmark, it's just a little bookmark. You can add text, whatever you may want. Now let's go ahead and look at using bookmarks in a slightly different way. Just going to save this. And for this one, I've got a sales page here. So this is just our overall sales data. And what I want to do is I want to create basically a story using bookmarks where we would go through data for the different countries that we sell in. When I go to a sales meeting, I would say, okay, let's look at this region, then this region, something like that. You can always add slicers to a Power BI report, but maybe it's something that you just want to be able to page through, and you don't necessarily want to create more pages at the bottom of your report. So for this, I'm going to do it by country. And you can filter individual visualizations, but this, I just want to filter the whole page. So you can see I'm going to drag this over to filter on this page. And the first one I'm going to do is just Australia. You can see the changes, and I'm going to add a bookmark and rename it. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to change the filter to Canada, add a bookmark. Change it again. And then we're going to change it one more time. And now we have the 4 different countries that we sell in. I'm going to make sure that I undo the filter here. So right now at the face of the report, we see it's showing all data for the entire organization. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And we're going to publish it to the cloud, the online version. Okay, now we're going to go to our online version and we're going to pull up that report. So when you're looking at the face of the report, it looks exactly the same. You do see bookmarks up here. You can add other personal bookmarks, but this is not where we're going for viewing the pages. We're going to go over here to view, and we're going to turn on the bookmarks pane. So now you can see here are the report bookmarks. And when we click view here, now at the bottom we have bookmark 1 of 4, and it says Australia. So here we can see this data with the filter applied for the country of Australia. Go ahead and click next. It's going to take us forward. Now we see Canada. Then we see New Zealand. And then we see USA. This is super helpful maybe when you want to have divisional tabs, but also have a main page. It can show you the overall company data, and then you could page through the different, divisions or regions. It can just be super helpful when you can page through that without needing to take up space to apply those filters individually to the tabs. And then it takes a little manual work out of it as well. You can also click between the bookmarks here on the page as well. You don't have to necessarily use the next, but that's just nice if you're kind of paging through it. Now, that was a very quick overview of using bookmarks and buttons. Like I said, I've seen this a lot to make report navigation a little easier. You still can navigate around using the tabs on the bottom, or if you have slicers or filters that you want to apply. But the buttons can just be helpful to get you there directly. It can be right there on the face of the report and easier for your end user to see. Definitely, if you use those outside resources, the URL function is super handy. And I always recommend having some sort of informational page on your Power BI reports, just in case you have a newer end user or someone has a question, they would know who to contact in the case of any questions. With that being said, I definitely want to encourage all of you guys to check out our website regarding our Great Plains User Conference coming up in November. If you're not already registered, definitely check that out. We have a lot of great informational sessions going on and just a great chance to network. And if you have any further questions or concerns after this, feel free to reach out to me regarding anything with Power BI or CRM, and I will be happy to help. Does anyone have any current questions? Wonderful. Well, I thank you so much for attending today and have a great rest of your day.